In today's show, Brandon Sprague of 1080 The Fan joins the program, and we talk all things Trailblazers, where they are, where they're headed, and all the bumps along the way. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make your first listen and tell your friends to do the same. Today's show, a very special one. We are joined by friend of the program and friend of mine, Brandon Sprague of 1080 The Fan. You've heard him on your radio dial 6 to 9 a.m. every stinking weekday on Dirt and Sprague. That show's also available on YouTube if you're nasty. Sprague, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's good to be back on the pod, Mike. I've enjoyed the episodes you've been doing, even in the down times of this weird start of a year for the Portland Trailblazers. And I do appreciate the shout out to AM radio. It is still a thing. It still exists. And if you're ever in your car and your car does have AM radio, I appreciate you listening.
My car was built. I drive a 2008 Subaru Outback because I live in Portland, Oregon, and I trust me, I have to plug my phone in. I don't got any fancy CarPlay or anything like that. I have an easy, quick dial to turn on the radio. Sprague, are you a Christmas person?
Okay. Behind me, I like my setup, right? I have these Christmas lights right here that I just found in a box last weekend that I wanted to plug in, but I didn't have time today. I am a massive Christmas person, and I don't say this for like any commentary. My birthday was on the 4th. So like December is early birthday and then right into my favorite holiday. And so, yeah, I'm a massive Christmas person.
You crushing eggnog? Are you an eggnog guy?
I hate eggnog. It's disgusting.
Oh my goodness! Where are you at on candy canes vis-a-vis candy canes?
Candy canes are delicious. They're delightful. I don't overdose on them, but like fruit cake and eggnog, I mean, those are atrocious decisions. What are we doing?
You're not a traditional Christmas man. I see. You're more of a new age Christmaser. Are you?
I'm
a
hippie
Santa?
Christmas guy.
Are you a good Santa?
I'm a great Santa. What do you mean?
Okay, you look like a good Santa. You look like a good Santa.
I'm a fit Santa.
Yeah. I'm going the other way. I'm leaning into being like, I can't even get up the chimney anymore, brother. Anyways, I guess we could talk more about Christmas, more about holidays. This could be Locked On Christmas. It really could be.
Well, can I say something real quick on Christmas?
Yeah.
Thank God my kids aren't old enough to watch stuff like this. I'm stuck doing this Elf on a Shelf stuff.
Oh, no.
Every day. And the problem with mine versus everybody else is I don't have a traditional one. I've got 2 like thrift store ones, and like they have animal friends. So I have 6 things daily that they get into. And I'm just like, it's probably the most stressful part of my Decembers now.
That is very involved, Brandon. I feel like this is something you introduced a half decade or so ago, and now you're in too deep. Like you're closing in. Yeah, it's like my kids are a little younger, so Elf on the Shelf was not a part of my childhood, so I'm not bringing it up.
Don't do it.
I'm not gonna.
I didn't have it. I didn't even know what it was till 6 years ago, and it wasn't even in our lives until 2 years ago. And like, elves might be writing a letter this year, like, "Yo, we're retiring from the shelf business. We're going to the gift wrapping business."
I like it. Speaking of staying in the spirit, let's start here with the Portland Trailblazers. What is the thing, maybe the single thing or the handful of things that make you feel the most joy about, the most sort of put you in the most Christmas spirit about the Portland Trailblazers thus far, 22 games into this thing?
I think on a consistency level, I think there's kind of tiers to that, but like the consistency level, I would definitely put the Clinger in there. I don't know how you don't with the defense. And I know the offense, I don't really ever expect the offense change much. He is a stalwart defensively, and what he does in the paint, it's changing teams every single game when he plays. Tumani has to be in this as well. I don't know how he's not. Shooting started out really red hot. It cooled a little bit, but like for the most part, pretty serviceable. And what he's been on defense is nasty. And then like after that, you go into the tiers, right? So like the moments where Shaedon, his down night is 21 points, or the nights where Shaedon erupts and goes crazy. Like those haven't been a lot, but when they've shown themselves, it makes you feel a whole lot better. And I know he hasn't had the greatest year. He's battling an injury right now. We'll see if he plays against Utah. I do think Scoot's had some moments where I'm like, I'm seeing a version of Scoot that maybe I didn't think he would be coming into out of the draft, but maybe like having a little more information and patience, you kind of reprocess what you think the ceiling could be with a player like him. So I would say, you know, that the length, the age, there's tiers to it, but those are the main things for me so far.
I am stunned to hear you put my man Sterling Henderson in your positivity category, because we've exchanged some text messages. I've seen you some skepticism on the other side. What you kind of mentioned like maybe changing the way you view him. What is your view of Scoot Henderson right now?
So, well, it's a bummer. Like when you're in seasons like this, last year it was Shaedon, right? Right now it's Scoot. Not that he's going to miss the year, but like anytime you got years like this, you just want the young guys to play. Yeah. We have text quite a bit, and I certainly have text that you could reveal to the world, and you could out me.
I think I've only done that once on here. I'm not going to do it again.
That's okay. I'm actually all right with it, because I think like everybody else, we have to change opinion as it goes.
Agreed.
I said to a friend last year, a media buddy, like, what if his ceiling is Mike Conley but can't shoot as well? Right? Like maybe makes an all-star game once, but largely you view him when you think of him as serviceable veteran who's not the star. And what I mean by the positivity of it, because I certainly understand the other side, I just feel like when he plays, he has this jump in the air, don't know where I'm passing, turnover stuff. He tends to be a little out of control. He has these lackadaisical moments where he stupidly just like puts his big body in front of guys. It's like, oh, I committed another foul. But there's also these other moments where I'm like, I feel like he is operating the offense when he's not doing the kind of dumb stuff better than anybody else on the team. Outside of like maybe Denny in transition. But like when I watch the half court stuff, I do see some positives about him just operating, getting guys involved, moving it around. He doesn't demand it because he can't shoot very well. So I'm grasping at some straws for sure. But I've seen little hints of it where I'm like, you know, if he could figure some of these little things out, maybe he's just the serviceable point guard who tees other guys up.
I think I would agree with most of that assessment. I do think he is the most. I don't know if he's the most effective guard. And weirdly, Delano Banton is the best guard on the roster. It's very strange.
Numbers are insane analytically. Delano Banton is the best player on this team by like all the
the impact stats do suggest that Delano Banton is like just straight up great. I don't know if I believe that, but I like the numbers are the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. They suggest that he's just straight up great. Like the Blazers suck when he doesn't play, and they rock when he's on the court. It's his on-off numbers are really wild on both sides of the court. But I will say, just like watching it, and I'm someone who believes in the numbers. I don't dismiss that whole cloth, but I'm also someone who is blessed and cursed to watch every second of this team. So it is the way Scoot keeps everybody connected is a thing that he does that I would say that the other players don't. Like even Banton at his best, and I know his assist numbers suggest that he's better, but you couldn't like watch him. It's not like that's not how he plays. Like I think Scoot keeps guys connected. The negatives can still be kind of loud with him, but the positives, you're like, oh yeah, he's the connective piece. He's the guy who gets everyone involved. He's the guy who gets the offense moving side to side, like in a way that other guys don't. And that's a knock to some extent on Anthony Simons, but like I don't view Ant as that, right? Like he's a scoring guard who's been kind of miscast as a point guard on a roster where it is what it is. So like, I'm with you. I don't think Scoot has been perfect or like reason to say, oh, right, heck yeah. But like you can see some positives that he brings, and in a way, a unique positives that he brings that others just straight up don't have that. I want to ask you about baby Kobe, or as I call him, Jason Richardson.
Whoa. Bro, those are two very sliding big scales that you just used right there.
Yeah, I didn't actually. I just learned that Jason Richardson has a kid. Actually, Carolina played against Michigan State, but Jason Richardson's son, Jace, I would assume that's Jason Jr., didn't play. So I didn't get to see him. I saw him on the bench or whatever. But so now I can't even call him Jason Richardson Jr. because I think that person exists and also will be an NBA player pretty soon. But let's talk Shaedon Sharpe. Let's talk Shaedon Sharpe in the second segment because he's such a linchpin of what this group can be. Join us in that second segment. First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rates may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, still chatting with Brandon Sprague of 1080 The Fan. Brandon, you are the person who coined the nickname Baby Kobe. And I know that you said it tongue-in-cheek. I know that when you called Shaedon Sharpe Baby Kobe when he was drafted in 2022, it was somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But it was also, there was some hope there. You're a believer. Where are you with Shaedon now in the early stages of year 3?
You know, it's a tough, interesting spot with Shaedon because, again, as I highlighted earlier, he has these moments where you go, "Oh, did he figure this out?" And then he has these moments where I'm like, he just played for 6 minutes and I didn't even know it. And I don't know what you do with that, right? Like, there is an element of basketball, and you're a ball knower. You've been watching ball your whole life. People listen to your podcast have been watching ball most of their lives, right? They love ball. There's just a fact element of NBA basketball. Guys that are super reserved and quiet, you don't largely see them be the Kobe's of the teams, right? Like, most of these dudes have an energy to them, and Shaedon has displayed some of it a little bit. I saw it a little bit against Houston, right, in that game where the big, thing was going on. Ant stuck up for him. There's been, little moments. But you could play 10 voices right now and not show me any video or I wouldn't know if I could identify his voice confidently. So it's like there's an element of that, as dumb as it may sound to some people, that when you need the Kobe or the star, whoever it is on your team, they kind of have to forward face and kind of show and sound like that guy. And I don't really see that or hear it. He's a good player. He's right now, I don't think, on that trajectory of the nickname. And at this point, I do largely just say it as tongue-in-cheek when he has big moments. But he's got the athleticism. The skill set's not the problem. It's the consistency. And again, I just think it's kind of, I hate saying this because these guys are pro athletes and I'm sitting on a couch watching them. But there's a dog element that I'm like, some days I'm like, that dog is just laying in the doghouse. It has no interest in chasing that ball. And so there's an element of that for me that I wish we could unleash a little bit more.
Yeah, it's that's a hard thing to know, right? I do think he needs the sort of Wesley Matthews tone setter, someone who knows that they're the third best, fourth best player on the team, but is willing to be the vocal leader in the locker room, do some of the sort of media responsibility stuff that requires of star players to be like, we sucked, I'll talk to the media, which was a thing that I don't think fans really care about, but there is something to that, right? When things go wrong, the person who stands up and faces the music and all of those things, there's a responsibility that if you are the face of the franchise, that you have to do that. Quite frankly, it was something that CJ McCollum was not comfortable doing, and Dame was, and that kind of it was not only their skill set, but also that personality that kind of separated them. But even in the early years of me doing this, and I've done this enough years that it's they need that sort of Wesley Matthews type, that personality that will say, I know that I'm not the guy, but I'll speak for the guys, and allows other people, the LaMarcus Aldridges of the world who are not wired that way, to ball and to take on to not have to take on some of the emotional responsibilities that come with being the leader.
Well, on the court, I would say, like, in terms of that, like, the guy is Tamani, right? But like, he doesn't have, I think, that confidence quite yet, the longevity of league status to maybe feel confident enough to be in the locker room. You're not wrong on the CJ element of that, but that lends itself to say, then who is the Festus Ezeli we could bring in to bring it out? Because that seems to be the only time CJ was willing to do it.
Yeah. You got to bring someone who like wildly oversteps their position on the team. And so CJ could be like, hey, dude, you need to shut the hell up. That's what the thing you're going to do is you're going to shut the hell up and we're going to continue our jobs. Yeah, I do think I wouldn't recommend that. That seems like maybe not your best path. But even without the soft stuff off the court, like the what you're talking about, the Shaedon kind of the willingness to say, you say like the 6 minutes where it's like you don't really notice him. It's like the you want to feel him a little bit more. For me, I'm not super like I know, and I mentioned this on the pod. Like I know he's kind of shooting bricks from 3 this year, and I think his ultimate ceiling is kind of determined by some of the jump shooting. Like ultimate, like I'm talking highest end outcomes. He can be a really good player and not be a particularly good shooter, but like if you want him to be the highest end outcomes, I'm a little worried about his defense. I'm a little worried that he's just like not a good. Yeah, he's not a good defender, and like. Typically, guys his size can get away with it a little bit better. You know, he's 6'5"-ish, and athletic, and usually guys like him can fake it a little better than he's been able to fake it right now. I would say if I have a concern on the court, for me, it's defense. I know the shooting is a thing, but to me, that's where it's at. And some of the other stuff, like his ball handling needs to improve. And if his ball handling improves, so much of his game is going to follow because he'll be able to get into jumpers better. He'll be able to get to the rim better. Like I think he's much better than when he started in the league. But for me, that's a huge area of improvement.
What is that? I'm blanking right now on the spot. What was the game he went off at home and they ended up winning it? The one his like real big game. I'm blanking who
was
they
that
were
the first Minnesota game?
Yeah, the Minnesota game. Thank you. I'll have to go back and look at his game log. I want to say that game, he actually got to the line quite a bit. And there's a thing about, like, Anthony Edwards is the other side, right? Like, he is got a lot of these traits that I'm talking about of, like, bulldog, in your face. He's loud. He'll let you know he's good, that I love. But, like, even Anthony Edwards this year, it's like, hey, my goal is to shoot more threes. And, like, people that watch it, if he's having a bad night, it's like, well, now you're just boring to watch, not even fun. There's an element of Shaedon that like he's not shooting very well, and so maybe we tone that. The league is in an interesting spot in general. Just like we're just jacking up threes, and if we outshoot you, we win the game. And like there's an element of it's like, well, you're not hitting your three, so let's not shoot 4 more of those. Let's get an up fake. Let's take our athleticism. What does he jump 46 inches? Let's take that inside. He can get to the foul line. I think there's elements of that with Shaedon where sometimes he does it and other times he's just like too laid back, willing to just settle for that 3, even if it's not falling for him.
Yeah, definitely his best games he's gotten to the free throw line. It kind of feeds itself, right? Like the reason you had your best game is you got to the free throw line. Is it chicken or egg type of thing? But the game you're mentioning against Minnesota when he had 33, he was 6 of 7 at the line. And then the next game, that afternoon game against Atlanta, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Shout out to the Trailblazers. They have a myriad afternoon choices this year on the weekends. You can take your kids. He had 12 free throw attempts in that game.
Yeah.
He missed a couple. He was 7 of 12 at the line, but it's like he had 32 and he probably if he shoots like a normal closer to his normal in the 80%, he's scoring 35 in that game. Like he's I do think, and like good players shoot free throws in the league. That is like it's why they measure true shooting percentage, because free throws are good shots to take, and it's like I said, like I am noting the pull up 3 stuff for sure. Is like I think that's his ultimate ceiling, but for me it's the defense and the playmaking that I think are like the ability to get to your spots. Is I think what's holding him back a little bit.
The danger about danger, but like kind of the concern I would say too, aside from that stuff and kind of piggybacking off of it too, is like, are you a believer of X amount of years into the league? You are who you are largely. It's not that your environments can't change you in some ways. I'm trying to remember, what were we saying about Chris Middleton in year 3, right? Like I don't quite remember talking a whole lot about.
I didn't know who he was. I was like,
right.
I was like, oh yeah, the guy who came from the Pistons. I remember him.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's I don't know if he's the good example here, but like maybe that's what Shaedon's high end ends up being. Which, by the way, you know, on a good team, that's not a bad thing to have. But
yes, second best player on a championship team, that'd be pretty good.
I mean, that wouldn't be, well, that's debatable. Drew Holiday online too, but like you know what I mean, like a guy that gets you a pivotal bucket, or a guy that can just randomly go through these bursts of, hey, you got 15 in that quarter. That's always great to have. I think it's just largely how many years into a career do people believe that you are what you are. I think Daryl Morey once said it was 4. I can understand if you want to give more leeway to players, especially coming in at such a young age, but it's just an interesting case study in that way of like, what is going to change this year, next year, and possibly the year after that we don't see or we don't feel confident about him in right now.
Right. Like I think this is certainly his best year in the league, right? Like I think he's significantly better than he was last season. He had a weird year, but like I think this is his best year in the league. For me, I think it's more like, you know it when you see it, where a guy's like where guys hit his peak, as opposed to saying like, I say 200 games into your career and I draw the line. You know, he's took such a big leap that I think I'd be willing to say like, let's get to the very end of this season and see what he looks like. Like I'm talking like, I'm not going to say anything till April about what his like ceiling could be. But I am not of the opinion that you have to say, oh, he's young, just wait. Like that's not how the league works. It's just not, it's not fair. It's not fair to the nature of making decisions like in the league. Like you can't just say, oh, well, it wasn't very good. Let's he can come back for year 4 and then we'll
it's gonna be different next year.
Yeah, it's like you just like you as fans, I think you can say that, but like the franchise has to make, they don't have to make any decisions through the next 2 seasons, but after year 4, you have to kind of figure out whether he's part of the plan. And if he's still on the roster heading into the summer after year 4, he has to be part of the plan. That's the nature of it. Like you have to re-sign him. You just can't lose a guy for nothing. So, yeah, you make this. I think it will. It's not. We're a long way away, but he's got a big 100 games ahead of him to kind of figure out where we get his ceiling. Let's talk about some other folks. You mentioned Clingan. I want to talk about some other vets in front of Clingan as well on the roster. This we'll do in the third segment. Join us on the other side. First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You can get ready to tackle all of your NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app makes it easy for you to bet on the NFL when you're watching live games all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game you're watching, say you're watching right now as I'm recording this, Lions-Packers on Thursday Night Football, well, you can check out the latest stats and view live play-by-play all in the app and all on the same page where you place your bets. So you can be an up-to-the-second wagerer. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. Still chatting here with Brandon Sprague of 1080 The Fan. You mentioned Donovan Clingan as one of your positives, and I would agree. I'm legitimately bummed that we're not watching Donovan Clingan and Scoot Henderson. Hopefully Scoot will play. You were listening, dear listener, to Friday, December 6th show. Hopefully Scoot will be available. We shall see when the Blazers play the Jazz. If not, they're heading to LA on Sunday, and then they got a week off. So I think at the most reasonably it's 2 more games of no Scoot before he gets back, because then he would have had a long time off. But I think Clingan's probably, we're talking after Christmas. It seems like the realistic timeline. He's going to be reevaluated officially in about a week or so, 10 days or so. So like we'll see. But I think after Christmas, what have you beyond it? Has Donovan Clingan performed above your expectations this year?
Yeah, but not by much, actually. I'm the element of him that I liked, aside from the obvious, size and what we saw. I love where he came from. the other thing I should have said in the positives that I didn't, that I'm thinking about now that you bring him up. There's real debate, I think, in Blazer fandom, right, about tanking and games and, oh my God, there's 2 teams in the West below us. And oh, what about the East teams? Like, certainly I understand all of it. I've been as loud on the tank train as anybody the last like year and a half. I totally understand it. What I really like, though, one, you got a guy from culture, and culture is it's something I really dismissed when Neil was here, that in hindsight, getting older, coaching a little bit with my kids, and just kind of like, I really like
award-winning coach of a youth basketball coach. This guy, check the Clackamas County Spring Coaching Awards,
my man,
2024. You'll see a familiar name right on there. That's a youth basketball coach award winner right there.
Debatably coach of the year in our league, second place in the league. I don't know. This is what people are saying, but no, but like I love to read like sports psychology books, and one of the big parts when I read these things like that they have in common is just how valuable togetherness, chemistry, sacrifice. These are big elements for teams to be good. It was probably the thing about Oklahoma City that nobody talked about along their journey, and their last year of being, quote, bad. They weren't really that bad. They narrowly missed. And then the next year they pop and they became what they are now in their second year of being good. And so it's like, you want to take these steps. And I understand the Cooper Flag infatuation. Like, you obviously don't root for him, but you can see it when you watch him play. You can see all these guys. They're good players. None of them are proven at the NBA level, but I see it. I really enjoyed, Mike, that the nights they've won, and that they've won with like Scoot playing and Shaedon leading the way and Clingan being out there, and Tamani being a bulldog. Those are things to me that matter. And so it's like, I'm not saying sacrifice the tank and make the plan, because I don't think that's realistic. But I'm actually not upset in any way, because I'm seeing guys play to their capabilities and actually play above them. And Clingan is definitely one of those dudes where I had high expectation. And now I'm like, if they ever get tired of Wemby winning D-Boy, the dude really might be their second best choice if he's actually playing 25 to 33 minutes a night and Portland becomes not so much of a joke. So he's exceeded slightly. And that's just an element of it that I love, is that he is bringing that Hurley pissed off, cultural, no, we are going to play hard tonight mentality. And it was a big bummer. And then I hear your pod and you're like, a sports doctor on Twitter says he's going to be out for 22 games. He won't be back till January. And I'm like depressed driving into work, hearing this at 5 a.m. And I
just report the news. I simply report the news. So.
I know, but I'm like, damn it, man. And I was already panicking about a 7'2" guy with a knee injury. I got Blazer fans like, oh, don't worry, it's just a sprain. I'm like, have you lived in this city? Have you not seen what happens to these dudes? So he's been above it a little bit, but I had high expectations because of where he came from. And I know it's Summer League, but man, what he did in Summer League was not something that was like, well, that's just Summer League. Those were like things that were going to translate because of his size and his smarts.
Yeah, I mean, he just like what I like about him is that he knows what he's good at, and then he goes and does that thing. He's not doing like you said, he might never be a particularly like good individual offensive player, although I think he can get in like that Clint Capella, I dunk everything you throw to me in the type of pick and rolls. If you run him right, and if the Blazers get a point guard that can do that, then I think he'll be okay as he gets older. And maybe,
what does Scoot have? 4 lobs to him, 5 lobs to him? There's moments where I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see.
Exactly. And Scoot has done a better job of finding his big man this year than certainly in his rookie season. I think he's getting much more comfortable there. But like, Clingan knows what he is. He's like, I'm huge. I'm gigantic. I'm going to go be gigantic. And it's going to be hard. And like, because I'm so big and in the way that it's, and I like guys that play to their strengths. I want to ask you about Denny Avdia, because I think when you were on in the early, maybe super August or whatever, when you were on like in the summertime, there was still some sort of like, did the Blazers overpay? And I think fans, we get caught up, and I'm certainly guilty of this, and I probably like feed the fire a little bit. I know what I do, but like we get caught up in value and making sure you win the trade and all that stuff. And certainly that matters, right? Like you don't want to send out like a pick for 10 years into perpetuity into the future for Larry Nance. It will mildly handcuff your team if you do that. But like, where are you at with Denny? Because it was such a rocky beginning, and now he just looks like really good. Where are you at with the pendulum?
Well, let's be honest about this. You're not wrong to say like media fan doesn't really matter. Like we all kind of go different directions with all kinds of things. I mean, you have absolutely shoved in my face the fact that I was openly loud about enjoying the Robert Covington trade. And that in hindsight was really stupid by me. But you know what? I had a cocktail. I was in my living room. It was, I don't know, remember the winter time. I was feeling good. Leave me alone about it. But look, the trade in the value stuff, I don't think I'm smart enough to really gauge full value of trade. In fact,
sure,
I would actually challenge most people doing our job. I don't know how many people really are, right? Like you can certainly argue, well, why would you give up that Bucks pick? Look at it now. Giannis isn't even going to be there. Yeah. And if he is, and then also like they had 3 of them that year. So like, is that, I don't know. And then like, has anybody checked in on Malcolm Brogdon on the 15-game losing streak Wizards? Has anybody? Can you tell me top of your head, Mike, what his averages are? Because I just looked him up 2 days ago because I went, oh yeah, we traded Malcolm Brogdon. He's terrible.
If I had to guess, 9 points, 3 assists. I'm just going to throw that.
I think you're too high. I think you're too high. I think it was like, it may have been 10 and 4, whatever it was. I remember looking at the stats going, oh, yikes. Oh, that's not good. And so
Malcolm Brogdon in 8 games in the 2024-25 season, 13.5 points, 4 boards, 2.6 assists, shooting 51% from the field and 29.4% from 3. A career 40% three-point shooter, shooting under 30% from 3. Yikes.
A point guard getting you less than 3 assists a game. Yay. Like, good luck, Wizards. Whatever you're doing, I'm sure it's going to work out for you. But it wasn't a good start to the trade either. You mentioned it. He had a awful start to the season, the point where all right, maybe that outlier year, Mike, was the real outlier of this whole thing. But I think he's kind of found his place. I think there's a timing, a rhythm that you have to figure out when you play with a new group. I know he's coming off of the bench now because of everything they've got going on with injury stuff. Ultimately, I don't know. I just want all the good players you can get, and tall guys are great. So I don't know how the 2 and Denny thing works in the future, but those are 2 guys I want on this team. And so it's been nice to have a young veteran like that, who clearly is going to be a part of your next at least 2 years, start to kind of figure out what he is with this group and show that like he understands how to adapt and fit in eventually. And he does things that a lot of guys on this team don't do.
Yeah, I like him because he gets mad when they don't do things the right way. There was a moment in one of the games when they were getting blown out when somebody let a layup go, and he kind of turned around and gave the WTF face to someone. And it was like, why are you not there? Like, and in a way that I don't think you see a lot of other players on the team, like look at their teammates and say like, that's a you problem. Like you need to help us. Like that's part of the game plan. It's like that we help each other. And I like that Denny has an intensity. I appreciate that intensity a lot. I want to get you out of here on this. You're watching the games. Are you rooting for them to win? Like, where are you with that?
No, I mean, most nights I'm actually going. It depends who's playing. So, like, if Scoot's out and Ant's starting and Ayton's in, I'm rooting like hell for them to lose. And I got to be honest, you didn't tee it up, so I'll just give it to you. Like, I don't know how trades work with all teams. It is not ever been more clear of like who Ant kind of is as an NBA player. This isn't going to change. And it's clear that like a restart for both parties was probably, it's overdue. And so like I hold no animosity towards him, and I root for him wherever he ends up going. But like I'm so done with it, and I know Scoot's going to come back and he'll come off the bench, and I'm not interested in that. Him and Ayton, and again, Ayton's been nothing but great. He's helped the young guys. He's reportedly mentored and helped the Klinger. Thank you. If you don't want to be on ice hills anymore, I totally get it. Let's divorce at some point. Like when certain veterans are playing, I'm kind of like, please lose. Please lose. When the young guys play, I go into it pretty neutral. If they win, it's like, young guys took it, man. Like, that's an element of culture establishing itself and guys building confidence that I'm for. And if they lose but play good, I'm all for that too, because, man, that's another ping pong ball.
Yeah, I kind of think that's a weird thing where it's like in any individual game, it's weird to go into a game where it's like a 6-point lead and be like, boy, I hope they don't come back. But like, if you zoom out even a little bit, you're like, boy, I hope they don't come back. You know, like, it's like, it is, yeah. I wish the NBA structure didn't incentivize them to lose. I wish there was a way where the Blazers could move forward and just like, not that they're like actively losing games, right? Like, they're not. They're trying to win. They're trying to win, and the reason that they're losing for the most part is because they're just not very good. But like, I wish that like from the fan perspective, I wish there was an incentive for you to for the team to lose games. I think that stinks.
I don't know if you would like this idea. We're in a period of sports right now where like people are throwing wild ideas. Like, baseball wants this golden at bat rule, right? And I threw out one in the NBA just jokingly, like, there should be a 5-minute button a coach can hit, and in that 5 minutes, no team can shoot a three. It's like, all right, now you got to learn how to score. What would you think of the idea of counting the play-in teams, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus the bad teams? That's the lottery system, and the odds are not different.
I wouldn't hate that, because I think wherever you draw the line, teams are going to tank to the line, right? So if like there is incentive for, like, if you say, oh, well, cut it off right here. Well, teams are going to say, like, if you're at the line, if the 7th spot is a lottery and the 6th spot is a playoffs, and you know you're going to lose if you're the 6th spot, you're like, oh, screw it, I'm going to go to the lottery. So you're still going to have it a little bit, right? But teams are competitive. I'm okay with that. I like that idea. I think the best way to do it is the point system. If you beat a team with a better record than you at any point during the season, you get a little notch, you get a point, and then you collect those points. So then as you go down the line, for teams at the end of the year, there's an extreme incentive for the Portland Trail Blazers to play their guys and try to beat good teams like the Boston Celtics at the end of the year, because you get lottery points is what it would be. And I think it would be hard to game the system because all of the games are competitive then. Like, everyone is trying to win. The good teams are trying to win because they have championship goals, and the bad teams are trying to win because they have lottery goals.
Well, it's like, you know, you're never going to catch the NFL, right? But like, what's good about the NFL? And people can say, well, Sprague, this team is tanking. And it's like, okay, I guess to a certain degree, maybe you're right. But like, at any given moment, the stupid team beats the good team. Like, we don't see it coming. Like the Tennessee Titans are terrible. Their quarterback throws to the other team more than he throws to his own team. They just beat Houston in Houston. Houston's a playoff team. Nobody saw that coming. If it's tanking in the NFL, they're not winning that game on purpose. Like, they don't want to win that, but they did, because that's what football kind of gives you. I just think you need to come up with any idea, because the people getting screwed in this are the fans. Like, whatever Washington is doing, I don't know who in Washington, D.C., Virginia, or anywhere is watching a second of that team. That team is terrible. They've lost like 15 straight games. They're an embarrassment. And that's just, it's part of the problem that the league has, is these teams don't all feel incentivized to win. They're more incentivized to lose because of the players coming out, and the fans lose in this. Like, it's just not, you want your fans to still have some care, and you also want evidence that the organization knows what they're doing. Like, Washington may end up with Cooper Flagg and all of this figures it out, but what if they don't? And then they draft the wrong guy? Like, they're never going to get out of this. And whatever they can do to get rid of this, I think it's better for everybody. The league, the health of organizations, fans, everybody. Like, put some good teams in the lottery and say, all right, bad teams, you want to be bad. Your odds aren't going to be any better than this team that might be on the brink of going on a run in a year or two.
Yeah, I like the idea of saying, like, you're still, even at 7, you're still a lottery. I like the idea that you're still a lottery team. It does give you a very scary, like, Warriors receive Cooper Flagg situation, but I guess that's why the math is there. That's why the lottery odds are there to some extent, is saying they would have slightly worse odds. Brandon, if people are looking for more of your stuff, where can they find it?
Google.
Yeah, just look them up. Turn your radio dial, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. If you're in the Portland area, it's also streaming online if you're into it. It's on YouTube, too. Like, you can literally just view it from wherever you are.
Watch on the YouTubes. We appreciate watching the YouTubes. I want to give a quick shout out. A Blazer fan. They make merch. I just bought some. Basketball Ghouls. And I'm
Ghoul. Basket Ghoul.
Thank you.
Show some respect.
Hey, thank you. I did. I bought merch. What do you mean? That's more respect than you correcting me. I'm going to wear tomorrow the Ball Don't Lie shirt on the show on YouTube. So thank you to them for their great merch. And yes, please watch on the YouTubes. The YouTubes is the future.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's what we're doing. And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit all the buttons. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the comments. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. Hit the bell so you can be.
What's the bell do?
The bell notifies you when you go live, baby. When the show goes live, and guess what? This show is coming at you each and every weekday on YouTube, 8 a.m. That's when we do it. We hit the button at 8 a.m. The show goes live. Now you'll have had few hours of Dirt and Sprague at that point. Then you can flip on over to old Locked On Blazers. You can skip the third hour. That's usually when I get on the show, if I get on there, so you don't need to hear more of me. But it's what we do 5 days a week, wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.